I have been rewatching some old war films lately, and I came across something that I think is worthy of discussion. This being the paradox that military leaders have to face whilst in command. The paradox of having to balance unit integrity and the fulfillment of their mission objective versus the well being of the men under their command. Many have heard me say before that if you take care of your men, they will take care of you. And although there is much truth to this statement, especially when in a crisis situation, it is not entirely good long term advice. To be a good leader, it is important to understand those under your command and to watch over them. But to be a good commander, it is imperative to maintain unit integrity and, above all, finish the mission. The scene playing out in the background is from the movie 12 O'Clock High, a World War II film about an American bomber group during the early days of the Allied strategic air campaign in Europe. The bomber group in question has been suffering severe losses in their missions and has come down with what some call a case of hard luck. This has impacted morale greatly and has the risk of infecting other bomber groups with defeatism. The main character, General Savage, portrayed by Gregory Peck, is assigned with figuring out what is wrong with this bomber group and to rectify the situation as soon as possible. He correctly identifies the problem lying with the group's commander, Colonel Gately. Now, for those who have never watched the film, you would be inclined to think that this is one of those cases where, it's where the plot is a bad leader gets replaced with a good one, and then the war was magically won. But that's what makes this film so great is the moral ambiguity. You see, Colonel Gately, by all accounts, is a very good leader. We are shown this in the film by the fact that he personally leads the group on its combat missions, putting himself in the same danger as his men. We also see that he takes great care of the well-being of his men under his command, and that he has the respect and loyalty of all those under his command right up until his dismissal as group commander. So how can such a good leader be the problem? Well, that's because he is too good of a leader. He's so good that he has compromised his own integrity as the group commander. By focusing too much on the people under his command, Colonel Gately has fallen into the paradox. He has lost sight of what his true job is as a group commander, which is to uphold the integrity of the group and to destroy their targets as quickly and efficiently as possible. In multiple scenes in the movie, we see Colonel Gately spend more time and effort in protecting his men from the results of their inability to effectively destroy their targets, instead of identifying and dealing with the problems themselves. More time is spent on looking out for the well being of his men to the extent that he has sacrificed his unit's combat efficiency. General Savage takes over and promptly rebuilds the group's chain of command from the top down. He instills a new culture of hardened military professionalism and goes so far as to risk losing the group's organizational integrity by pushing his men to the breaking point. But in the end, it works out, but at a great personal cost to his own mental well being.
There'll be a briefing for a practice mission at 1100 this morning. That's right, practice. I've been sent down here to take over what has come to be known as a hard luck group. Well, I don't believe in hard luck. So we're going to find out what the trouble is. Maybe part of it's your flying, so we're going back to fundamentals. But I can tell you now one reason I think you've been having hard luck. I saw it in your faces last night. I can see it there now. You've been looking at a lot of air lately. You think you ought to have a rest. In short, you're sorry for yourselves. Now, I don't have a lot of patience with this what are we fighting for stuff. We're in a war, a shooting war. We've got to fight. And some of us have got to die. I'm not trying to tell you not to be afraid. Fear is normal. But stop worrying about it and about yourselves. Stop making plans. Forget about going home. Consider yourselves already dead. Once you accept that idea, it won't be so tough. Now, if any man here can't buy that, if he rates himself as something special, with a special kind of hide to be saved, he'd better make up his mind about it right now. Because I don't want him in this group.
Another good example of this paradox is in the movie The Bridge at Remagen. In this film, we follow Lieutenant Hartman, who leads an armored reconnaissance unit tasked with leading the attack on the bridge at Remagen. Throughout the film, we follow these soldiers through their sustained hardship of constantly being on the offensive and leading the way for the Ninth Armored Division. However, the critical part of this film that pertains to our current discussion lies in the character of Lieutenant Hartman's superior officer, Major Barnes. Major Barnes is introduced early on in the film as a sort of glory-seeking middle-rank officer, but as the movie develops, we see there are more than two dimensions to this character. The great thing about good old war movies is that there is often a lot of morally gray areas. Often, information is portrayed to the viewer in unbiased ways as to let the viewer decide for themselves how to interpret the actions portrayed. In this case, we see the viewer often cut to scenes involving Major Barnes and higher command, where we are able to see and understand the strategic situation that Lieutenant Hartman and his platoon are involved with. In modern films, especially the anti-war variety, we would have been more focused with the individual soldiers and the units who have to endure the hardships of war, the intimate and inhumane acts of violence on a battlefield. This film does not shy away from these topics either. Lieutenant Hartman's men are so mentally and physically exhausted that their morale and discipline are degrading to the point that they contemplate raping an innocent woman at one point. But this film provides the big picture to the viewer, the strategic scale and importance of the reasons why Hartman's men have to keep going forward. More importantly, we see the paradox of Hartman's dilemma as he has to lead his men whilst knowing that they are most likely not going to survive the engagement. Hartman carries the burden of having to order his men into action that he knows will result in their deaths. In the end, Lieutenant Hartman's platoon is almost completely wiped out, but they achieve the objective and secure the bridge.
Barnes, where's your lead unit? By last report, they're right on the bridge approach, sir. We're not gonna blow that bridge, Barnes. We're gonna take it.
Take it?
As long as it's still standing, we've got a chance. When we get out there, cut every wire and cable. Dent, alert HQ. Ask him to give us every available unit on the double.
Yes, sir. Jesus, sir. I mean, I hate to think of my men in the middle of the bridge when they blow it.
It's a crapshoot, Major. Take that bridge and we shorten the war. We're risking 100 men, but we may save 10,000, even 50,000. It's your chance to make history, Major. What you've got to do is throw your men across. Now, Major.
Yes, sir.
I think it is very important to look at how leadership is portrayed in culture. Both films discussed in this essay are very old. 12 O'Clock High was filmed in 1949, just 4 years after the Second World War. The Bridge at Remagen was filmed in 1969. Both films portrayed real events in a dramatized way, but based their characters on real people and portrayed the obstacles that these people face in wartime in an abstract way that I think has value, that can be relayed to people who have attention spans longer than a goldfish. In our modern times, we are bereft of good leadership. Everywhere one looks, there are no good leaders left. It has gotten to the point that there isn't anything left to even train or guide future leaders to develop. But hopefully this short video has shown that there are places where some wisdom can still be found if one is honest and willing to look for it. I will end this video with a clip from the movie Gettysburg, where General Lee and General Longstreet describe the topic of today's discussion. I hope you, the viewer, have found this video of value in some way, and I thank you for watching.
General Longstreet, you wouldn't mind if I accompany you?
Not at all. I'm very glad to have you with us, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, heat reminds me of Mexico.
Yes, but there was very dry.
That was a good outfit. I remember storming the ramparts of Chapultepec with old George Pickett. Reynolds, my old friend Ulysses Sam Grant. There were some good men in that army.
Yes, sir, there were indeed.
Some of those men are waiting for us now up ahead on those ridges. I don't know. I sometimes feel troubled. Those fellas, those boys in blue, they never quite seem the enemy.
I know.
I used to command some of those boys. Swore an oath, too. I couldn't fight against Georgia, South Carolina, not against my own family.
No, sir. There was always a higher duty to Virginia. That was our first duty. There's never any question or doubt about that.
Yes, so.
But let us not think about that now. The issue is in God's hands. We can only do our duty. General, soldiering has one great trap. To be a good soldier, you must love the army. To be a good commander, you must be willing to order the death of the thing you love. We do not fear our own death, you and I, but there comes a time. We are never quite prepared for so many to die. Or we do expect the occasional empty chair, a salute to fallen comrades. But this war goes on, and the men die, and the price gets ever higher. We are prepared to lose some of us, but we are never prepared to lose all of us. And there is the great trap, General. When you attack, you must hold nothing back. You must commit yourself totally. We are adrift here in a sea of blood, and I want it to end. I want this to be the final battle.